We're getting at that time of year. It's February. The Daytona 500 has happened, and we're getting closer and closer to the launch of the new NASCAR game. And this one I am hyping up because this is going to be a big one. So NASCAR 2021, I'm going to talk about everything I'm expecting, also some things that we already know, some confirmations, and just kind of previewing what we know up to now. We're not really going to get much more news probably until April or May or something like that. But let's talk about what to expect gameplay-wise, physics-wise, what features, what platforms the game will be releasing on. You can tell by the title I have included Nintendo Switch because, yes, the game most likely, I don't know if it will be the exact NASCAR 2021 game or something of the mobile version akin going to the Switch, but there will be a NASCAR 2021 game on Nintendo Switch. So if you guys have a Switch and you want to do portable NASCAR racing, then that's good news for you. Before we get into the video, we have a sponsor for the video today, Frag Pro Shooter. It is one of the best shooter games of 2020, designed for mobile devices. The player base is around 60 million players total, with 1 million players playing daily on Frag every single day, and you have specific rewards thanks to the links in the description below. The game's really simple. You collect characters. There's more than 80 to collect. All have specific rules and powers. You have attack players, defense players, base players, and you have one goal: create your deck, build your own strategy, destroy the enemy bunkers. There are 3 game modes: Payload, 2v2, or Street Frag mode. I really enjoy the Payload mode. It actually brings me back to the Overwatch days from a few years ago where I play Overwatch, and I really like the Payload mode on there. So it's very simple. Be the first player to escort your cart to victory and reach the center of the map of your cart. You can slow down the enemy cart by destroying the target, or you can stay in defense to make yours go faster. You'll have the other team going against you, so it's pretty tough. Download Frag Pro Shooter today, and there are free rewards only for you, only thanks to the link in the description. Even for those who have already installed the game, if you already have it, use the links in the description and you will get free rewards. So go check that out. Big thanks to Frag Pro Shooter for sponsoring today's video. Go check it out. Again, link in the description. And let's get to the video. First, with a really quick article that just puts the confirmation on the Nintendo Switch little rumor. So there's an article on motorsport.com. No surprise, because Motorsport Games is now the publisher of the NASCAR Heat series. It's going to be weird for me to keep saying, I'm sorry, not the NASCAR Heat series, the NASCAR video game series. I don't have to say that. I can't say Heat anymore. Dmitry Kosko, CEO of Motorsport Games, says there is huge momentum in the industry and that will manifest itself into new games, including NASCAR's arrival on the Nintendo Switch, new platforms, and more high-profile events for fans to follow. While there are longer-term projects in play, including the new British Tour car series in 2022, this year they look set to debut an official NASCAR game on the Nintendo Switch. Quote, in 2021 we plan to release a couple more games and expand our platforms. One thing that we're actively working on is bringing NASCAR to the Nintendo Switch platform, and that's going to be the first time on Nintendo Switch. We're excited about that, especially the fact that it tends to reach a younger demographic. So both of us, both NASCAR and us, are excited about the move. We will launch another mobile product, which we've been working on for quite some time, and the relaunch of the NASCAR Heat franchise. So we're definitely looking forward to that. That's why I'm not confirming that the Nintendo Switch version will be the NASCAR Heat or the main console and PC version, because the way that he might be talking about it is, you know, we also have the NASCAR mobile version, which is completely different than the NASCAR Heat, and so maybe even the Switch might be a little bit different. I would not mind the same, you can make the same style game on the PS4, PS5, Xbox, PC, all that, and then bring over a Switch version that's just has a lot less features, more kid-friendly in a way, and so targeting that younger demographic. That's possible, especially with Motorsport Games' reach now. This is a big publisher. So just really quick, I want to clear up just how this is going to work in terms of who's making the game, who's publishing the game, because there seems to be a lot of confusion around that, because I have to keep reiterating this is not the NASCAR Heat series anymore. So Motorsport Games comes in, and they are the publisher of the NASCAR Heat games. Now, they've dropped Heat from the series after Heat 5. So when they came in, they made Heat 5. It was very similar to Heat 4 because they were not focused on it. They dropped Heat after Heat 5. Now they brought in Codemaster workers as well, ex-Codemaster veterans, to work alongside people at Motorsport Games, with people at 704 Games, who are the team in Orlando that have carried over as well, and they're all working on the NASCAR game. They also have multiple people from Motorsport Games working on other types of games, like the British Tour Carring Series, and these games will all share the same engine. So the same engine that will be in the British Touring Car Series in 2022 will be in whatever the NASCAR game is. We don't know what that engine is. We don't know if it's Unreal. We don't know if it's a custom engine. We're not sure. My bet would probably be Unreal Engine. I don't know if they're going to go full-blown with their own engine. I think it's kind of too quick to do that in terms of like making your own custom engine. So they might go with Unreal. We'll see what happens. Well, that's kind of the gist of it. So if you guys understand, Motorsport Games is the publisher, 704 Games is still the developer, and shout out to Rusty Walrus, you guys might know him, and he is the new community manager. So hopefully that's good. I mean, awesome. He's literally the most energetic person I know. So it's gonna be great. Now in the article, Costco talks about being really focused on esports as well. So we're gonna see continued growth in terms of the online part of the game, the NASCAR 2021 game. I think the online is okay for now. I think the biggest thing that they need to work on right now is actual the physics and the main part of the game itself, which is the new game engine, which is why they're focusing on it. But online wise, in terms of servers and in terms of the way their esports broadcasts are, it's fine. The only thing I will say is most people who play these games do not care about esports. A very small minority care about esports, and yes, it brings in a lot of revenue for the developers as well. Competitions, tournaments, prize money, everything, different sponsors as well. It's a big aspect of it, but I just want to make sure, you know, there's very few people that actually really fully focus on esports. Probably around the 10 to 15% range of your overall player base is actually focused on esports. A lot of their people just race on online for fun, or they do single player only, or it's kids racing with their parents or family members. Like that's the main area of your player base. So yes, focusing on esports is great. Please keep doing it. Keep trying to build that. But don't lose sight of the other things. We know I criticize EA Sports all the time for this. EA completely focused on their Ultimate Team aspect of their video games and lost sight of everything else. And now they become voted worst company in America multiple times throughout the years. And it's not the ideal thing to do in forgetting other aspects of your game. So hopefully that same mistake here is not made. Also, I don't think you can make an ultimate team in a racing game, but I will never say never, because I'm pretty sure someone will find a way to do it eventually. Quickly jumping back to the Nintendo Switch version of the game. Now, some of you guys might question why there would be a Nintendo Switch version of the game, but I just want to point out that the Nintendo Switch is insanely successful. Nintendo is knocking it out of the park with the Nintendo Switch. And so putting a racing game on the Switch can bring a lot of benefits. Obviously, they have, you know, Mario Kart and a lot of other third-party games come there. But putting a third-party NASCAR game on the Switch can bring home big numbers. And I mean big. There's a lot of people that have a Switch. There are a lot of people that would be willing to purchase a NASCAR game on the Switch. And a lot of revenue could be made from that. So I'm fully on board with the Switch. I just hope that it does not take away too much from what we're going to see on consoles and PC. Another thing about the game coming to Switch is most likely, if the game is going to Switch, whether it be the same game or similar game to PC and PS4 and 5. Speaking about the PS4 and Xbox One, I hoped maybe they would not go to PS4 and Xbox One, but knowing the player base is still going to be very large on a PS4 and an Xbox One, it's very likely that the NASCAR 2021 game will be released on PS4, Xbox One, PS5, Xbox Series X, PC, and even maybe somewhat Nintendo Switch. So that's a lot of platforms. Before it was just PS4, Xbox One, and PC. We're going to have to add in the next-gen platforms in there, and we're probably still going to stick with the PS4 and the Xbox One as well. So unfortunately, that means the lowest common denominator for the game itself might still be bogged down. So graphics-wise, detail-wise, certain stuff like that might be hindered a little bit because we still have to be on those platforms. However long that might take, we don't know. We will see. We had a little bit of transition period, if you guys remember, when EA Sports went from the PS2 to the PS3 and the Xbox to the Xbox to the Xbox 360. That transition period was pretty hard to work with too, because the Xbox 360 game was so much different from the Xbox game, and so that was pretty tough to work around. You had to basically make two different games. So we'll see how that goes. I am a little bit worried about those amount of platforms, but hopefully I'll be pleasantly surprised. Let's talk about gameplay. Now, gameplay-wise, I'm pretty confident to tell you guys, you're going to see something completely different. Again, I don't know what the engine's going to be on yet. Very few people know. But gameplay wise, I'm talking about physics, I'm talking about looks, I'm talking about track details, even the HUD, camera views, all that stuff will be different. I can virtually probably, I mean, I'm not working on the game, but knowing if they're switching to a new engine, I could almost promise you that it's going to be drastically different. Good, bad, I don't know. It could be much worse. It could be so great. It could be just, you know, meh. And it could just be the same level, but in different ways. You know, it depends. We're going to see how it works. But that's going to be very different. Obviously, you're going to still have all the NASCAR drivers. Most likely, you will have all 3 series. I don't see why they would take out the Xfinity or the Truck Series. I expect those 2 to be in the game still. You most likely will have a career mode. The only reason why I'm not fully guaranteeing that is because the switch to a new game engine or new platforms could lead to a lot of issues, and we don't know exactly what will be put in. One thing I do hope that carries over is the AI, and I don't know if you guys agree with me on this part, but I really enjoy the way the AI are coded in the NASCAR Heat games. They're not incompetent. They do pretty well. They run multiple lines. I don't know if we'll get the ability to do multi-groove racing for ourselves. The AI will still be able to do it, but for ourselves, I'm not really sure. I would like to see the AI get a little bit faster on the top. So, for example, at Dover in the NASCAR Heat Series, if the AI go to the top, they're losing like half a second a lap. Ain't good. Things not to expect. I would not bet on a paint booth. And here's one of the reasons, guys. A paint booth, even though it would be so awesome, the team, sponsors, multiple outside factors are going to kind of fight against that. They're not going to want that to be in the officially licensed NASCAR game. And you guys might know why, okay? So we can't really control all you freaks out there, and you know, we don't really want some nude cars out there. You know, that was going crazy on NASCAR 09, but again, that was back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s. Things are a lot tighter now in 2021, as you guys know. The world, just society as a whole, it is a lot tighter, a lot more strict, and being able to put a paint booth in the game is a lot more difficult because of those risks that are involved. Someone making a paint scheme that is inappropriate, you don't want your kid seeing it, or someone making specific paint schemes that you don't want certain sponsors to be shown. So there are workarounds, there are ways to get a paint booth into a NASCAR game, but it is a lot harder than it was. It's even a lot harder than it was a few years ago. So you guys can point out to the Forza Motorsport series where you can import some NASCAR paint schemes in there. Even that, you know, that's still, it's going to be a little bit more difficult now because of certain regulations around the licensing agreements, and NASCAR themselves, they're going to try to kind of limit that as much as possible. NBA 2K does a great job with it in terms of, let's say, like my team, making your own jerseys, making your own court, putting different sponsors on there. But again, the NASCAR licensing agreement is a little bit different and a lot more strict, so I would not bet on a paint booth. I would hope for something akin to F1 in terms of maybe fantasy sponsors, liveries / custom paint schemes, more customizable there. But a full-blown paint booth, like, you know, go from your computer and upload something in there, not really sure. I don't think that's possible. One workaround they might be able to do is just not have a paint booth at all, but make the paint schemes very easy and accessible to mod. But that would only be on PC. That would not include the other versions of the game. But for PC players like myself and other people that are on PC, then you could maybe, because right now the NASCAR Heat Series is very hard to mod. Not everyone can do it. So if they just make it a little bit easier to mod, then we could just make our own paint schemes ourselves, and we don't really got to worry about it. But again, that would not carry over to PS4 and Xbox One. I don't see a situation where a paint booth across all platforms is possible at the current moment. I talked about career mode already in a previous video, so I'm not really going to touch on it too much. Just give me some little benefits, details there. Tighten things up, make money matter. That's my biggest things. But until then, I'm not really too worried about career mode for now. Focus on that later games. I just want to see what the main gameplay is going to be like. And release date. Let's talk about release date. Now, NASCAR Heat 5 came out in July of 2020, and they actually wanted to release it sooner. They were hoping to get it out in June, but they couldn't. So they got it out in July. Does that mean we might see the NASCAR 2021 game in the summer, in June or July? In my opinion, I doubt it, but I said the same thing about NASCAR Heat 5. I did not think that game was coming out in July. I thought that game was going to come out in September, like the previous NASCAR Heat games did. I don't know when this game is going to come out. I would assume August to September. I would assume that area, but they could bring it out in July. In my honest opinion, the later the better for me. We saw the situation with Cyberpunk. I know that's a AAA game, massive studio. This game has nothing to compare to that. I understand that. But with the COVID situation, it makes game developing a lot harder when everyone's working at home. It makes everything a little bit more complicated. I just want the team and the developers to have as much time as possible. I would rather, I know they wouldn't because money matters, but I would rather Motorsport Games as the publisher take the right decision. And if they have to delay it a few months, 4 or 5 months even, if that gets the game in a much better state, I would be very pleased to see it in that sense. I don't think it is necessary to release the game in the summer. Obviously, the peak NASCAR time is when the playoffs start, which is around that September start, which is what they were doing before. It works with DLC as well because you can add a lot of the playoff paint schemes. It works as well in the cycle of the game because then you can head into the new 2022 season and maybe put a season update in the 2021 game because the 2021 game hasn't been out for too long if it releases in, let's say, September or October. So I like that general area for releasing a game better. It's also more of a prime time kind of part of the year for families, kids, video gamers themselves to purchase games. You head into the Christmas area where then you could discount the game a little bit for, maybe $40, $50. So I would prefer them put it in that area. I think there's a lot of benefits to it. I don't want to see it in the summer, but if it is in the summer, it better be ready. I don't want this game to be rushed. That's the number one thing. I don't want it to be rushed. I don't want it to be filled with bugs because I really don't want what happened in NASCAR Heat 5. And what happened in NASCAR Heat 5 was there was some bugs in there that you kind of question yourself, how did no one see that? You create a custom car and there's a bug right there with the wheels. So there was a lot of things in there at the launch for NASCAR Heat 5 that was a complete mess. I don't want to see that again. Let's get this game right. It's going to be it for now. If any more details on this game comes out, I will let you guys know. And if I hear anything, or that I might be allowed to, I'm not allowed to talk about anything. But if I hear anything, you guys probably will hear it too somewhere online. So let's see how it goes. I will see you guys later. Make sure you check the links in the description below for Frag Pro Shooter. Really appreciate them for sponsoring this video. But go check that out. I will see you guys later. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you're not already. Subscribe if you're new. Take care of yourselves. Peace out.